Hi there and welcome to part number 11. So what we'll do in this part is working with these shelves. So we're importing the model and then we're using an array modifier to putting these close to each other and making a duplication so we have two rows of shelves. We're not going to fill them yet, but what we will do is also do a little bit of environment light in the scene. So stay tuned and let's start with this part. And welcome to part number 11 of the factory construction course. In the previous two parts, number 9 and 10, the main focus was to improve the materials on the floor and on the wall. So we added these water puddles and we also painted some dirt on the walls. We used the noise texture as like giving a procedural pattern of dirt. And we also use the color attribute, like here with dirt, to paint some dirt on it. So by default, when you do vertex painting, you see these blurry fades of dirt. So we use the grunge texture as a mask to have more grungy effect on it. So it looks more inviting to watch. So we especially paint this around corners, around the door. So these are the most effect. So don't overdo this. You want to look this natural. So what we're going to do in part number 11 is continuing with improving the textures on the floor by adding a dirt texture. So we can paint some dirt around pillars on the wall. And later on, when we add main props like the container and shelves, we can paint around. So that will increase the look of realism. And we also focus a bit on lighting, atmosphere, things like that. So a lot of things going on in this part. So let's get started. I like to select the plates floor. And we're focusing on this node tree. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And we have to zoom in so you can see exactly what's happening. So these nodes are all connected to create these water puddles. And as soon as we start working on the dirt, we will add more and more nodes. And it can look a little bit messy. So to fix that, I like to select these nodes and press F. And we call this water puddles, like enter. We press N. And we have we have to select it. We have the setup of this label. We're making the text a bit bigger. And let's make this a little bit blue so you can easily connect blue with the water puddles. So. And then I like to just move the albedo on top. Then we have the metallic. Just move this a little bit more to this side, just more far away. Normal maps lower, so we have the space to connect new nodes. That helps being organized, and we have to do the same with the other ones. But first things first, like this. So I was talking about adding a dust texture to paint around corners. So let's get started. The first thing I like to do is adding a new color attribute and call this dust. And we do add. So we are prepared. Add input. And we have to find color attribute like here and call that dust. It's really hard to see, but it's dust. And we're duplicating this texture. And we have to find dusty floor. So one of my favorite new materials. I scanned this in the factory with I made this dusty floor. And it works very smooth with adding dirt. So yeah, let's continue. Just some side note. Color, mixed color. We'll break it, but we'll fix it as well. So color goes at the bottom, and then we have the color that goes on top. Okay, you can see this works because we can still have the concrete plates on the. You won't see the dust. We have to paint that so you know it works. Shift, scroll wheel, and it works better if we just enable it. Focus on the pillar. Have dust selected. Object, vertex paint. Increase, make it bigger, pressing F and Control left click, and we start adding some dirt. So not too much, just a little, because dust or dirt always connects close. Well, I mean, you're brooming it away close to things like corners and pillars.
That's why, or wind is blowing through it, not just everywhere. All right, so we're painting and it's only affecting the plates, not the concrete. That's because we haven't updated the other one. We will do that after we finish this one, because this looks nice, but if you're a critic, you see this fading effect. You get away with it, but I like to teach things, so let's make this a bit more advanced. It's the same method, by the way, as the wall. So we already done that. By repeating it, you'll learn. All right. So how that works is we're doing it a little bit different. Instead of using a grunge texture, I like to use the, let's simply duplicate dusty floor and dusty floor displacement. We turn this into a grungy texture. Make that non-color. Like this. Perfect. And a grungy texture is like black and white, and this is like more gray. So let's add a color ramp. Add color ramp. Connect this right here. And by switching these sliders more together, you create Control Shift. Yeah, that's nice to see. You create like this black and white mask. And that works as a grungy. So I don't want to see this right now, so we are just turning it back. So next thing we do is adding or duplicate the mix node. And we're putting this one at the bottom. We're disconnecting the dust. It goes straight away on the top. Make this solid white. Okay. And now we want to have another color ramp so we can find how intense we want to have this. So we put this on top. Yeah, and now we have to switch these because the color ramp doesn't allow us. So let's find a balance. So you can see the effect of the grungy texture. That's pretty intense. But the thing I like is that it's not nice and fading. You just have patches of dirt. So maybe we paint a little bit more vertex paint control, so around. Not too much, but I kind of like it. So we do not have normal data, so it's just an albedo. And same for the roughness. What I like to do, and it's very simple, it's pretty simple. You just duplicate the mix node on your roughness. And you use this one as a mask. This is just a mask setup, putting it right there. The main one goes at the bottom. And then we need to have the dusty texture. I feel you when you think, what are we doing? I'm just trying to show you. Non-color. And we're connecting this at the top. This should fix it. So it looks the same. We are in material preview. It's pretty hard to see, but it works. Same for the normal map. So we're duplicating this mix node. The water, well, still looks pretty good. We're putting this one right there because we're doing, in fact, the same thing over and over again. Mask goes here. We want to have the normal dusty floor and make that non-color. And putting that one at the top. So now we just zoom in because this is holding control and scroll wheel and we can do this effect. We make this intense, like you can see it's intense one. Okay, so this shows it works. So I like to select all of these like so and press, because this is all, let me check. This is the albedo. So I like to keep this out. So these are all related to the dust. Press F, dust. And let's increase the text size. And color, a little bit of brown. Okay. So we fixed this, and what we can do right now is paint dust on the floor. Add vertex paint. So what you cannot do is paint dust, or you can, but try to avoid the water puddle. So it's just like here. And as soon as you start moving around your water puddles, you have to just redo this. So I like to have some dirt in the corner. Just have to find a good spot so we can paint. And control a little bit of here. And you can see I'm not like trying to like paint everywhere. Control Z. Just because that will look weird. Just slightly. Maybe a little bit over here. But also fading it away a bit. So that's nice. And just close to the pillar. Like here and over here. Okay. So far so good for the plates, but I also want to have the setup. I'm just copying it. We can just do copy for this frame. I like to go to concrete floor and press Ctrl V. We're just selecting the frame. That's such a cool thing. So we have to select everything. Copy, paste. There we have it. So this is our mask, and we have to do the organization for the water puddles as well. So these are connected for the water puddles. F. Add a color, a little bit of blue, and increase the size of the text, organizing it a little bit more. This is our diffuse, roughness, and a normal map. Good. So let's make this same setup. Add color, mix color. There we go. We want to have this as a mask right here. And the dusty albedo goes right there. Yeah. So yeah, of course, we need to flip it. Maybe you've already seen that. So let's start connecting all of these. And I'm not connecting the wetness. Just don't want to interfere with it. We're duplicating it. Putting that one on the bottom. Roughness. Dusty floor rough. And it skips the non-color. That's because it was already a non-color. And here we go. What you can do is shift right mouse, and you see this connection. And you can simply make new connections if you like it. So we have to make it for a normal map as well. And put that one at the bottom. We're creating a new map. A lot of repetitions going on in this lecture, but that's a very good way to learn. I'm putting this right there, so it goes right there. Good. So this should be good. So as soon as we go to vertex paint and hit Ctrl, you can see that it's already working because it's sharing the same map. So that's good. How effective. So if you paint here, it has effect on both. Cool. Some of here. And again, you don't want to have a lot of dirt everywhere. Just good. A little bit of here. I mean, you understand, I guess, what it is. All right. So we go back to the camera view. Just selecting the viewport camera view. And if we hit render and we wait, we can see the current light setup. We're using sunlight and a procedural sky, the pretam. I like to change this by adding an HDRI. So we're now removing the sunlight and we're removing the world, adding a new one, and we find environment texture. So environment texture is like a real sky dome. It's based on photos merged together, so you have real light data in your scene. And there are many of these sky domes available for free, CC0, that means just commercial free, available of Polyhaven. So pick your sky dome you like and add it in your scene. So I picked one that I like, but there are many of them, so I can encourage you try to find a sky dome you like for your scene. So you have this unique lighting and it looks nice. So you maybe wonder how that looks. So we don't have to add a new sunlight. It's all packed in an HDRI. That's why they are so cool. So let's go for rendering. And we have to wait because it's pretty tough. So the sunlight has now a new direction. So first it came from the windows right here, and now it's more from the rear. And however, it's the nice thing about this direction is we have some light streaks over here, what adds kind of a depth, and we have some light streak in the background, so we can feel some depth in the scene. But I kind of like it so it's shining through the windows. So I like to rotate it, but there is no rotation slider. We have to make that. I hope someday that's going to be standard. But for now, we have to go to the shading tab, go to world, like this. And we have to add 2 nodes, so we have control on the position of this sky dome. So the first thing we do is go to our spacebar and add the mapping node. And this is a vector. So there are a lot of things going on in the mapping, but you can just change rotation and location. That's pretty straightforward. We also need a coordinates, so texture coordinates. So this allows you, if we put this one in the vector, to rotate the location of your HDRI. So how do we do that? We rotate on the Z-axis and we try to find a spot. So this, if I choose this is nice lighting. I mean, I could pick this one, but I prefer light from like the, we have to find the right spot, something that's giving the effect I prefer, maybe a little bit different. Okay, here we go. Now we can see the lighting. All right, here we go. Still rotating. Okay, so something like this. I have a problem with this setup because the light streaks are really way too far. I would like to stop them somewhere close to the viewport. So we have like a little bit of shadow and then the light starts, and it helps making it an inviting image. So how can we change that? We're just changing the location of the sunlight. So we're putting it more on top. It's, I think, -0.1. Okay, that's way too much. So make this -0.05. Yeah, so we have -0.04. No, that was -0.06. Okay, yeah, I think this is nice, and we can change this over and over till we find, but this feels already good. So we have like a basic setup. And what we also can do, increase the strength. So I'll make this 2. So we have like more light, less noise. If you think it's too much, you can always lower it. But it's a nice starting position. So let's keep this. So if I look at the ground material, now we have this different setup. The water feels a bit too dark. So let's take a look if we can change that. Plates floor. And this defines, I guess, the metallic. Yeah. So let's check if we can just, no, that's not the right one. Let's make this dark as well. That feels more natural. So you can control the look of your water puddles, something like this. Okay, so just some extra advice, maybe something between, because the dark also helps a bit. So we now have environmental lighting, what is awesome. But we can even improve this by adding a little bit of atmospheric volume fog, just a little bit. Comes with some downsides, but it will like add so much realism in the scene. So how we do that is I like to go to camera light, and let's also add and create a new collection and call this atmosphere. Camera goes right there. Go to solid. What we will do is make a volume box. Add mesh cube. We're making this cube bigger, like so. So it needs to cover this whole complex. Go to the front view, wireframe. So don't overdo this. Just try to just capture your factory. Something like this. GY. Looks good to me. And important, scale it, Control A and scale. All right. And we still want to see our factory because it's now blocking everything. So go to the object settings, viewport display, and change this to wire. So it's right there now, and call this fog box, just like this. Okay, so currently, when we render, we will block all the lighting because we now have a box around it. So we want to transform this in a fog box, a fog, new material, and call this fog. By default, you have this principal BSDF. We delete it. And go to add, and it's shader, and I want to have a volume scatter like this. We're putting this volume not in the surface but in the volume input. Okay, so let's have a look if we just render this by default. Okay, that's like a lot of fog going on right here. So let's change the density to something like 0.1. Ooh, okay, that's okay. So we have less density. We also have this aneostrophy. So I like to increase that. Start with 0.5. Okay, as soon as we start increasing this, we can start see light streaks, what is pretty nice. And you see a kind of a blue tint. That's because the atmospheric light has a lot of influence in this. So even how cool this effect is, it's not realistic. I mean, if there was a fire on this location, this looks like this. But we want to have a slightly bit of atmospheric light. Increases to 0.9. So you now have like a lot of nice looking light streaks. But still it's too much. Lower this to 0.05 for example. It's still way too much. So now we're starting to make it really low, 0.001. Okay, that's already a bit better. Maybe a bit more, 0.002. 0.001 was, in my opinion, the best. Maybe lower this value. So we have less light streaks. I kind of like 0.9. The problem I have currently is there's a lot of noise going on. But there is a tool so we can increase the effect of the light in the scene. We go to the render settings, light pad. If you increase the volume, 1, 2, 3, it will increase the bouncing in the atmospheric light. And as you can see, it's removing this blurry effect. I want to make this 4, always use 3, but it has a huge impact on the effect, so that's nice. So 0.001 adds quite a nice effect on the scene. And I like to do control, It's not possible. Yeah, Control B. Just want to see the viewport. Otherwise, I'm a little bit distracting. And not that bad. So we now have a fog box. Nice. Okay, so far so good. And let's continue with adding some main props. So I like to continue in this lecture by adding more and more so we can finalize it in the upcoming part. So one of the main props we're going to create, we start with a prop list, new collection, call this props. One of the main props I like to add are shelves. So new collection, like this. And we go to the top. So this is included in the course. I don't want you to spend hours on making shelves or containers. Like that's a different kind of course. This is about environmental modeling, and I'm providing you just some extra props to play around with space and objects, because that's really essential, making a nice looking environment. So shelves, file, append. I have to go to my models, and I'll have shelves palette. So these are designed to have shelves. So and I can see that there are some missing textures, I guess. Okay, not good. Let's just take a look. Shift H. That was just a preview. I just checked everything 100 times. Alt H and bring that back. It's right there. But if we go to the modeling tab, I just want to select it. Oh, and it changed textures. It's a bit messy at this point. I don't want that to be. I want to have the origin exactly in the middle. Origin to geometry, and that's it. Okay, so this shelf already has the right measurement. So the only thing I like to do now is Control, rotate, and bring it at a position I like to start with. That's close to the camera. A little bit off the wall. I don't want to push this right there, so we have a little bit of spacing. Go to the camera view, and it's now blocking the door. Well, it's totally fine. Maybe even a bit more close to the entrance, something like this. So we will add pallets and an IBC tank close to it. And this is just a good way to fill the space with objects. Shift D, I want to have a shelf over here. I'm not snapping, I just want to have like more natural look. Shift D, putting it on the other side of the room. Let's take a look. Close to the entrance door. So GY. And let's give this shelf a viewport column. Let's select shelf metal. That's what I want to see. Viewport. Let's make this green, like factory green. Good. So they are easy to just recognize. And Shift D, we also want to have like a row of these shelves in the factory. So for this, I'm just putting it right there. We go to the Modify tab and add, generate an array. And I'm not sure why I rotated it. We have to just rotate it the other side like this. It's pretty cool. You can see the labels I added on it. I scanned these from actually real shelves. It's a nice fine detail. And what we can do right now is go to the settings, randomize them, because I really like this option now, is on the Z-axis, just a little bit of rotation. That breaks the repetitive look. And Shift D and rotate them like this. I prefer to do this manually without snapping, because nothing is as straight as using, like, if I do snapping, it's not how it works in real life. They're like a little bit outlined from the other ones, so imperfections is so key to keep in mind. So we have these shelves, pretty nice. And let's have a quick render on this. Okay, so they behave right. I added a green color, but in real life or in the scene they are a little bit red. Maybe I should change that. But so there are two main props I like to add. Like for some reason, sometimes these are popping out. We have the shells and new container like this. And I like to file, append. So it's a shipping container. And there it is, container model, object, container. And there it is, there's our shipping container. So we're putting it like at this position. If you, however, find a total different setup, just do it. That's the best you can do. So this setup worked for me, so I tried to balance it with like large objects, small objects to have a nice composition. If you find like a different, do it. I would like to see your results when it's ready. So we have the shipping container right there. Take a look if that renders well. Yeah. So you maybe think, why putting this? It has to do with bringing weight in the scene. So we play with light, we play with big objects. And this way it feels like in natural balance. You maybe wonder, all right, it's really key. And I've never followed like a course on this. It's just, I made so many environments, medieval environments, and I started to understand that or I watched old paintings as well, that there is a kind of a way why things happening. That's weird, right? I can talk a lot about this subject, but I like to start appending the objects. Some people like it, some people don't. I get a lot of feedback on my courses that people don't like my storytelling. It's just a different type of people. Some people just want to follow, and some people prefer to have some more story about what they are doing. Okay, so we have an IBC tank. You don't want to know how much time I spent in modeling. Imagine people making this now with AI, just with a prompt. Or how do you say that? Prompt. Yeah, prompt line, make IBC, and you get something. Not especially something you want, but I'm just holding it because probably one day it will generate an IBC tank in what's even better. I don't know what to think about it. I don't like it. Especially, I don't know where it's based on. Like, is it getting all that knowledge from hardworking people? I don't know. Wondering your opinion about this subject. Like, I'm feeling this guy who's a little bit afraid of the future, but the future is good or bad. Anyway, we got this IBC tank right there. Let's do a rendering. And yeah, so we have like main props in the scene, the big ones, the small IBCs, the shelves. We have some lighting. Let's go for a render. And we have to check GPU. Okay, F12. Okay, wondering if that all works well. So we now have atmospheric light, what has an impact on the rendering speed. So if you have a system that's more lower end or medium end, I don't know if that's the right naming for lower end systems, you can try to just leave out the fog. That's like finding a balance. My system specs are 3 years old, so I'm not using the newest from the newest, but it's still like a pretty good setup. Anyway, so it's done. And maybe we're going to lower it. We can see a lot of noise going here. There are all things to fix that. That's no problem, but it's visible and we have to do something with that. But yeah, we have the container, we have the IBC and the shelves. So I like to spend the full part on adding smaller props, adding more dirt, finalizing, adding pallets in the shelves with some boxes and some barrels. But from this, at this point, it's really like, I know how to fill that, but I mean, there are so many ways to fill your scene and make it look nice. So yeah, we're ending almost. There's one final part, and maybe I'll make a bonus part later to just add more things. And I also want to spend a little bit more time on the composition. Yeah, adding, there's like a new notes presets that I like to add, doing a little bit of changing the camera with fisheye, which is really cool. So there will be like a specific part for people who like that. Adding an animation, walking animation. But this is like we're almost there. We're trying to end this, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope. So thanks for watching this part, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.